If you don't know where you are, it's really hard to get to where you want to go.
You're listening to the Dare to Be Different podcast, a podcast for people who want to live an extraordinary life. On this week's episode, Joe and Alisha talk about reinventing yourself. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Dare to Be Different podcast. We are so glad that you are here in one more week of the craziness that we call 2020.
Ugh.
Here with my favorite co-host,
Ed Newell.
Not Ed Newell. Not Ed Newell. I am here with the always beautiful, always amazing, always understanding and patient Alisha, my wife, Alisha.
So, like, if you say it enough,
I'm
it'll
going to
actually
speak it into existence.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so.
So thank you guys so much for being a part of the Dare to Be Different podcast. We hope that you get something out of this every single week. We know we do. We have a lot of fun doing this. So I do anyway. Okay, I have a lot of fun doing this.
I'm glad you do.
So
No.
the Dare to Be Different podcast is all about living an extraordinary life. We don't want to do ordinary. So we want to live extraordinary lives.
You are anything but ordinary.
I am anything but ordinary. We are anything but ordinary. But we use 5 words, 5 values to describe this extraordinary life: honest, passionate, adventurous, grateful, and healthy. So, man, let's talk about 2020. It has been absolutely nuts. We're finally in the tail end. It's starting to get cool, which means fall's on its way, which means 2020 we're on our way out. Thank goodness. So,
Yes, thank goodness. It's been, I can't say anybody that I've ever talked to through the whole last year has said 2020 has been great for me.
This has been fan-freaking-tastic.
Yes.
No.
Best year of my life. No obstacles, no hard times. No, like, I think it was all obstacles and all, rerouting throughout the whole year for a lot of us. I know us.
Yeah.
But, like,
You know
nuts.
what's really strange? There's been so much craziness going on in 2020 that things like there was like some governing body that said, "Oh yeah, UFOs and aliens are probably real." Like, and people are like, "Whatever, yeah, sure. What? It's just the next thing." Like,
You don't even hear about it.
yeah, you don't even hear about it. It's so nuts. All these things that have happened in 2020. But what I have found talking to people, in my industry and companies and all that stuff, 2020, because of all of the craziness, seems like it's almost a time where people are reevaluating their lives. And again, from the company side, we have companies that are reevaluating their mission. But individually, people are reevaluating their lives because they might have to change jobs. They might be moving. Their kids are doing different things, et cetera, et cetera. And it just seems like there's this feeling that if there's going to be a change, maybe 2020 might not be a bad time to do it. Like, if you're going to make a pivot in your life, maybe 2020 is the time to do it.
First of all, I appreciate the Friends reference for the pivoting. But
Yes.
yes. Besides that, I think that 2020,
We were on a break.
Yes,
So,
no.
anyway.
Let's not ever have to use that quote. But anyway, I think that 2020, in all of its insanity, made you reevaluate, even if you didn't want to. So I
Mhm.
think that it was forced reevaluation. And I can't say that one person that I've talked to or, heard from anything that said, I've been completely unaffected by this. Nothing in my life has changed. Like, there's people, your kids are home from school. You're trying to be a homeschool parent. You're trying to, work from home where you're not used to
Mhm.
working from home. You're making, a corner of your bedroom your office and, trying to get a toddler to be quiet or whatever while you're working, and just different in so many different ways. So many people have been affected by it. So, it's just you either come out of this a master chef or a raging alcoholic, one or the other. So, but I mean, hopefully it's not the latter. But it's made everybody has had to make major adjustments to the life that they knew. And that's not easy. it's a forced reevaluation, a forced change. But it also forces you to reprioritize in a lot of ways.
It does, and as we're reprioritizing, what we want to talk about today, and actually we're probably going to talk about this for the next couple weeks, is this a good time to reinvent yourself? And really, that's what a lot of things with our podcast are talking about is going from I survived to my life is mine and I get to control the way that it is and I get to live that extraordinary life. I don't have to be ordinary anymore because again, 2020 is not ordinary.
No.
Life got shaken up. So why
Yeah.
don't you point it in a direction that you want it to go instead of it being forced on you how it's going to go? And that can be a ton of different things. That can be changing a job. That can be changing your location. That can be getting into volunteer things, starting to take some adventures, starting to reevaluate, do I need the biggest house or the nicest car, or should I do there's a lot of different things that you can do to reinvent yourself. And I just think that this might be a really good time as 2020 is coming, hopefully quickly coming to an end here over the next couple months, where, we can start really understanding what we want 2021 to look like, what we want our lives to look like in 2021, and start moving in that direction. If that's something that we want to do, because the people listening to our podcast more than likely want something more out of life than what they have today. Otherwise, they wouldn't be listening to our podcast.
Probably not.
So
Yeah.
we're not the, hide under your bed and wait for life to happen to you type of people. And so more than likely, those aren't the people that are going to be listening to us either.
Probably not. Yeah, I think that a lot of control, you were just talking about control. I think a lot of control was taken um, away from us, with all the mandates and the necessary closures and stay at home orders and all those different things that were kind of, people feel like it was forced upon them.
Mhm.
You didn't choose this. So, you kind of exercise your control in ways that you feel that you can, which might make people kind of rise up and it almost enhances the desire for control of their lives. So they're gonna try and I don't know. It's like I feel like some people are gonna grab the reins that wouldn't necessarily have done if this situation hadn't happened.
Sure. So as you as a listener or us, talking to each other here, if you're thinking about reinventing yourself, reinventing your life, changing the path that you're on, I think that there are 3 great steps that you need to do, and we're going to deal with one of them today.
All right,
But
tell
just
us about them.
just to put those out there, and the one that most people think of as the first step is trying to understand why you want to change. Right? That seems to be again. There's books out there about start with why. What is your why, et cetera, et cetera. That is one of the steps, but I don't think that should be the first one. So, but understanding your why is definitely one of the steps. Understanding the what is also one of the steps. So you want to know, what do you want to change about your life? What is that thing that you believe is extraordinary, that is going to make your life different, better, et cetera, et cetera. So there's the why, the what. But I think that the first step that you have to do is get really, really honest with yourself about a personal inventory. So, and one of the things that kind of came to mind when we decided that our finances were
Disastrous.
a
No.
mess, when we decided, we actually didn't have to decide this. It was very obvious that our finances were a mess. And again, this is when we were in our 20s.
Yes.
And
100 years ago.
100 years ago. And our finances, our accounting was pretty much, we would just throw everything that we got into a box.
It was a great system.
It was. We would have one of those banker's boxes, one of those pre-fold banker's boxes, which we thought was really official because it said banker's box on it.
Oh, yeah.
And we would throw all the receipts and everything into there. And I had started a little sales agency. And so we had a separate company, and we just weren't doing the right things. I mean, we just weren't. And so these boxes would
I
pile
laugh
up.
at it now, but it is not. It was a tremendous amount of stress, and
It
it's
was.
not funny at all. Like, don't do that.
Don't
It's not
do
like
that.
a joke. It's not like cute or whatever. It's it's very stressful. Anyway.
Yes. So, but we, these boxes would pile up. Like we would have like, oh, here's, 2015, and it was the 2015 box, and we weren't doing the right things with the IRS and all that stuff, and we were just like,
No one was going to jail, but like we're not on time with
yeah, we weren't, yeah,
filings and all that stuff.
So, but there was a point where we said, hey, we want to make a change, but we don't know how bad things are.
Yeah.
We have no idea what this change looks like, and we can't go forward until we evaluate what we have.
Yeah, it's inside that scary box.
Yes, and we kept looking at the boxes knowing this is a bad thing in our life. This isn't good, and we would try to ignore it, but it was always there. It was kind of always hanging over our heads. So, we had to take our boxes and we had to get really humble, and we had to take them to an accountant
because
and
we had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah, and we pretty much had to say, help us. Help us get an inventory of what this looks like. How bad are we? How far behind are we, et cetera, et cetera. And we pretty much dumped years worth of receipts, on his desk and said, here you go. And he went back, and to your point, it was very painful. It was, cost us a lot of money to get dug out. But in our lives, when we want to make a change, I think that we have to do that, that same type of process where, there's something in our lives that we want to do different, and we have to take an inventory. We have to really understand how bad things are, what we're working with. Because again, even when the accountant came back and said, hey, look, you owe the government some money, how much money do you have to pay them back? And we had to say, okay, well, this is what we can afford to do to pay them back. And we had to, do it over the next, I think it took us maybe like 2 years or something like that to dig out. But we had to, do a real evaluation of, hey, this is what we can do. And then we finally made that change, and then now we're all good. But so whatever the change is that you want to make, that what you want to do in your life, you need to do a personal inventory. You need to look at absolutely everything. Don't try to fix it as you're evaluating. Just understand where you are, because you might say, hey, I want to move somewhere tropical, or I want to travel more, or whatever. But then you go, okay, I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. That's part of the personal inventory. Like I have these little people that I have to feed. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I have to, and it's going to be very difficult to have a job where I travel if they are with me all the time. Or
Yeah,
maybe
like
it's
the
not.
flight to Fiji is probably not the funnest thing you've ever done.
Right. And even so, you have, family considerations, you have personal considerations, hey, I own a business, or I have this job, or I have this education, just get to the point where you're really evaluating everything in your life, because you don't know, you have to know where you're starting to see where you want to go. So, I mean, and we've done that over and over again, through changes that we want to make. We've talked about it with even the changes that with the service station. We had to do a real hard personal inventory of what this meant to us, where we are today, and where we wanted our lives to be. And that personal inventory sometimes can be a little bit painful, because you have to force yourself to sit there and think about it.
Right.
So, and it doesn't have to be a long process either.
No, it doesn't. But it's, a lot of times you just get caught up in the day-to-day busyness of everything that you don't take that time to go, what do I have going on right now? What do I like about it? And what do I definitely not want to continue for the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years?
Yeah, and you want to make sure you're not getting too far ahead when you're doing this. Just go, this is where I am. I have a house. I have a mortgage. Yeah, the house is, maybe I'm upside down. Maybe I'm not upside down. Maybe I can, sell it. Maybe I can't. Do I
want to cash out? Do I want to continue to stay here? Like, what do you do?
So if you do that evaluation of your life, and then also look at the ugly sides of where you're at. Hey, I have this that keeps coming up in my life. Maybe it's a drug or alcohol problem. Maybe it's a relationship that is unhealthy. Maybe, look at absolutely everything in your life and evaluate all of it. Get it out there. Write it down. Write it down if you have to.
Yeah, just make sure that you're not all dwelling on all of the negative things because that can take you into, a dark place. Like, no matter what you have going on in your life, there is good. There's always good there. It's sometimes, healthy to make sure that you have both sides of that list made out. Like, I might have, you know, a bad relationship, but I'm healthy. I might have, make sure that the positives are making the list.
Correct.
What I'm trying to
Yeah, and it is. It's a full of, and you might need some help with this.
say.
You might need some input from. You should have some input put from your spouse or your significant other. You should have some input from your kids if they can understand, what you're trying to accomplish. Your friends, your family, things like that. Uh, to really help you understand, is your life, are you living an extraordinary life? Are you living the life that you want or not? And where do you stand in that life?
Right. Yeah, and what necessary limbs you need to trim, off of it to evaluate everything honestly. What do I like, what do I don't?
Yeah. And even getting into some existential things like, who am I? Am I on, is this the path, the role that I have in life? Is it what I want in my life? So I am an entrepreneur. I am an employee. I'm a dad. I'm whatever those things are. Are those the things that you feel are important in your life? So what do you have in your life? What roles are you playing in your life? And that'll give you a really clear picture of, should I be pivoting? Should I be making a change? And can I make those changes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it all just goes back to, when we've referenced this before, the self-evaluation that you do, just to make sure that you are staying on target for what your goals are and what direction you want to head in life. But evaluating what you have and what you don't, sometimes makes you appreciate things, and
Hmm.
sometimes it could also take the other turn where it makes you jealous of people that might have more than you do. But at the same time, this is just an evaluation of what you have, like, not letting comparison creep in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is no trying to take some of the emotion out of it.
Right.
Just being kind of black and white. This is what it is. This is my life. This is where I'm at today at 45 years old or 35 years old, or Nicholas, how old are you? 21 years old.
Ooh.
Evaluating where you are, because if you don't know where you are, it's really hard to get to where you want to go.
Right.
It makes perfect sense if you think about that from like a map. You have the map out and you go, okay, I want to get to, San Diego. Well, that's great. I can see where San Diego is. I can understand all the paths that go into it. But if I don't know where I'm at, it's going to be impossible for me to get there. So step number one, figure out where you're at.
Yep. All right. Give us step number 2.
You already want to jump on to
I
step number
do.
2.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. So step number 2 is deciding what you want. So if you start with where you are, and then you have to decide what you want, which is, now again, we're into some pretty big evaluation at that point. And those two things might not match up. You might not be able to get where you want to go because of where you are today. I don't know if you've ever had that with the GPS where you put in something and it's like, yeah, I can't get you there from there. You know
Make
what I
a
mean?
U-turn.
Yeah. But I remember I put into Google, because we do a trip with our credit card points to Aruba. We've done it for the last couple of years. Between the business and all that stuff, I rack up a lot of travel points and stuff like that, and we can
Cash those babies
we can
in.
cash those in. And I put into Google, it's like, hey, I need to get to, and I thought I was doing it with like Google Flights. And I just did like driving directions, and it was like, yeah, I can't get you there from
You're
here.
gonna
You know what I
drive
mean? Yeah.
through the ocean.
Drive to Aruba. But there's definitely a bridge there that you have to make between where you are and where you want to go. But you do need to understand what you want. And step number 1 will help you understand where step number 2 is, because again, if you don't know, you might just be feeling this like, I want a change. I want something in my life to change. I want to live, you know, e- e- extraordinary, but I don't know what that means. So step number 1, evaluating where you are, will help you to understand what is possible with step number 2. Make sense?
It does.
So for for us, we're constantly trying to figure out where we want to go. So, one of the things that we have made a decision is that we're going to create a charity with our family and the Flex Screen and Reflex Brands
Right.
teams. We are going to create a charity to help children in Africa. And again, we're working on all of those details, but we know that's where we want to go. We know that helping people that can't help themselves, because of how blessed we are and how blessed just being an American. I hate to say it like this, but you know, uh, if you're middle income in America, you are better than you're better off than almost everybody else in the world. It's incredible how blessed we are as Americans. And so we want to give back to some people that can't help themselves. And we just have a heart for children, especially in African low income places that are having a health crisis because of malaria and some of the other insect-borne diseases.
Right. It's
S-
something they don't know that they're born into, or don't know a life outside of dealing with this.
Right. And the amount of deaths for children under 5 and 7 years old is staggering,
Yeah.
just because of mosquitoes.
Heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking. So we know that we want to do this, but we had to do an evaluation. You know what I mean? We had to do an evaluation of where we are. How can we help? We looked at all the things that we have in our lives that can help us get there. And we said, okay, here's where we want to go. And so that was step number 2 for us. We couldn't go to step number 2 realistically without understanding step number 1 first. Getting an inventory
Yeah.
of what we have available to us to be able to go to step number 2.
Yeah. What do you have? What sometimes is, what are you willing to part with?
Yes.
Which is difficult for a lot of people to give of what they've worked so hard to earn. But and where's your heart? What opportunities are out there? What can you think of that you can do with the resources you have? Kids have always been our heart. Mine especially, just as a mom, and as I've worked with kids for years and years, and just to be able to do something outside of your four walls, is it's achievable, is just it's heartwarming, and it does, I don't know, it feels good, I guess, in more simpler terms.
Yeah, and it's a part of our values. Being grateful to us means not just being thankful, but also being giving back.
Yeah,
So
live life with an open hand.
yes, absolutely. And we try to do that. We try to instill that in our children and the people around us.
Yeah.
So,
And our
it's
kids know that, like, they actually like, you'll hear the garage door go up, and you're like, "What are you doing?" "Ah, just grabbing your, yard tools." "Oh, all right."
yeah, yes.
"See ya."
Yeah.
"Hey, have you seen my shovel?"
Yeah, they
"Oh, it's at
just
my house."
whatever. Yeah.
It's like that, what my parents have is mine by, just
Yes.
default,
And again,
which
it's
is
just
good. That I
it
love
is.
it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love that they're comfortable enough to, just come in and borrow stuff and just go, "Hey, can I have this?" or whatever. It's I love that stuff.
Right. And because it is important to us, we have designed our lives in that way.
Right.
And so, but we use the charity and that seems to be kind of altruistic, and it's kind of a big thing. Not a lot of people
It
can
is.
start a
It's not,
charity. I understand
like,
that.
yeah, don't
But
feel bad if you're not at let's start a charity,
right. The only
stage
reason
of
that
life.
the only reason that we can do that is because we knew the resources that we had available to us. I have people that can build websites. I have people that can help to facilitate, doing doing donations and things like that. I have a team of people that can help us get to that goal. So
Right.
I did an inventory. We knew that we could go there, but it might be I want a job that um, helps me feel fulfilled. You know what I mean? I want to pivot. I want to change. I want to reinvent myself. So you look at it and go, okay, I I want this type of job. I want to be in marketing. I want to be an accountant. I want to be a lawyer. Whatever the case may be, it doesn't really matter. This is the type of job, or this is the career path that I want to go on. When you do that inventory, you go, okay, I don't have a degree. I don't have the education. I don't have the experience to do that. So you know that to get to that what, which is in the step number 2, getting to the what,
Hmm.
there has to be a bridge there that gets us there. So maybe that's going to school at nights. Maybe that's going and being an intern during your off hours so you get some experience. Maybe that's taking a job that pays you a lot less but makes you a lot happier. So, those are all things once you decide what the what is, you know, or once you understand what the inventory is, then you can start looking at the what that you want to change.
Yeah, and I think it's healthy at any point to just continually reevaluate, like, what do I actually want? Where do I want to head? What do I have? Where do I want to go? And prioritize those things. Can it happen right now? Do I have the honest, time in life to make these changes?
Yep.
Head there.
So we're almost out of time here, but I just want to encourage everyone. Again, I know we went into the second step here, but I want to rewind, go back to step number 1. If you want to reinvent yourself, do an honest inventory this week. As a matter of fact, do it today. Take 5 minutes and just get started. Just get a piece of paper, write personal inventory at the top, and start listing the things. Start listing your assets. That could be physical assets. That could be, personal, inside of you assets, et cetera, et cetera. Look at your things that might hold you back. We would call those liabilities. I have a mortgage. I have a car payment. I have, and again, not that your children are liabilities, but those are things that need considered as well. I have 3 kids. I have 2 dogs. I have this. I have parents that maybe are older. I have to take care of. Whatever those things are in your life, I have a desire to do this thing. That's part of your personal inventory. I have this flaw in my personality. I'm lazy. I don't want to exercise. Whatever those things are, get real with yourself. And then that's the first step to reinventing yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, just honesty, I guess, is the
Honesty.
basis of it.
Be honest with yourself is always a good first step.
Sure.
So thank you guys so much for listening again. I hope that you take the remainder of 2020 as an opportunity to take control of your life. I know that you probably feel that control is being taken away from you, like you had mentioned, Alisha, that the government or people outside are taking control from you. You have to wear a mask, you blah, 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 all these things. But you have control of your life. You really, really do. And I hope that you decide that the rest of 2020 is a great time for you to take that control and live the extraordinary life that you deserve. So until next week, we love you. Share this. Make sure you like it, subscribe, all of those fun things. And we will catch up with you in 1 week. Talk to you later.